You've heard of Neville Goddard. You've heard that imagination creates reality. You've heard that everything begins in consciousness. And yet, it still feels like something is missing, doesn't it? Because if imagination truly creates reality, then why do so many people imagine, affirm, visualize, and still wait and wait and wait? This is where almost everyone gets Neville wrong. They believe imagination is a tool, something you use to get what you want, a method, a trick, a way to hack reality. But Neville wasn't teaching a method. He was describing the nature of existence itself. He didn't say, use imagination. He said, imagination is God. And that changes everything. When you see imagination as a tool, you stay trapped in separation. You imagine to get, you visualize to attract, you affirm to fix. But when you see imagination as the origin of all creation, you stop trying to make it happen. You realize it already did. Neville said, you are God, imagining yourself into being. That means your desires aren't outside of you. They're memories of what's already finished. You're not trying to create them, you're remembering them. That's why effort fails, because every time you try, you're affirming that you don't yet have. You say, I will manifest wealth. But in that moment, you declare yourself poor. You say, I'm attracting love. But that very act affirms that love is missing. Neville's true teaching wasn't about effort, it was about identity. He said, change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. So the question isn't, how do I manifest? It's, who am I being right now? Every moment, you're being someone. And that someone is the seed of your next reality. When you identify as the one who already has, creation becomes effortless. Because you've crossed the line from desire to embodiment, you stop asking, when will it happen? And you start knowing, it already has. That's the moment everything shifts. That's when the world begins to rearrange itself around you, and it always does. Because consciousness never lies, it only mirrors. If your inner world says, I am fulfilled, your outer world must agree. If your inner world says, I am still waiting, your outer world will keep you waiting. You're not manifesting through force, you're expressing through being. That's what Neville meant when he said, to be conscious of being rich while poor is to be rich. It isn't imagination as pretending, it's imagination as truth. Every assumption sustained with conviction becomes fact, because you are not the dreamer trapped in the dream. You are the dreamer creating it in real time. So stop asking how. Stop waiting for signs and start living from the end, because the end already exists. And it's waiting for you to remember who you truly are. You've been told to believe, to trust the process, to have faith. But faith isn't passive. It's not hoping something will happen someday. It's assuming that it already has. Neville called it living in the end. He said, to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to live in the end. Not to hope for it, not to wait for it, to become it. That's the forgotten power, assumption, because assumption isn't pretending. It's choosing your inner identity and refusing to betray it, no matter what the outer world says. The outer world will test you. It always does. Because it's not separate from you. It's your reflection. When you assume, I am loved, life begins showing you everything that still doubts that truth. Not to punish you, but to reveal what needs to dissolve. When you assume, I am wealthy, you might first face the echoes of fear, scarcity, or guilt around money. Those echoes aren't evidence of failure. They're signs that your old identity is dying. Neville called it the bridge of incidents. A sequence of events that carries you from who you were to who you've assumed yourself to be. And it's not always comfortable. Because dying identities resist, they cling, they argue, they beg for proof. But your only proof is your knowing. The world around you begins to shape itself the moment you persist in a new assumption. Not when you force it, not when you obsess over it, when you rest in it. That's why Neville said, It's not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe yourself to be. You can repeat affirmations all day long, but if deep down you still feel unworthy, you'll create experiences that confirm that belief. Because consciousness can only reproduce itself. So if you want to change what you see, you must change who you are being. Say it quietly to yourself. I am the one who already has what I desire. Let that sink in. Let the words echo, not as a hope, but as a fact. Because when you claim it as fact, something invisible starts to move. Reality begins to bend in your favor. People shift. Paths open, coincidences align, and what once seemed impossible becomes ordinary, not because the universe suddenly noticed you, but because you finally noticed yourself as the universe. Assumption is creation in motion. It's not magic, it's law. When you persist in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, you tell reality who you are, and reality listens. Every detail, every delay, every detour is simply the old world catching up to your new identity. That's why Neville said, dare to assume you are what you want to be. Remain faithful to that assumption, and it will harden into fact. So today, dare. Dare to assume the impossible. Dare to believe that your inner knowing is more real than the outer noise. Dare to stop asking for signs and start being the sign, because the moment you assume, creation begins. Every transformation begins in silence. The silence between the old self and the new one, the space where desire meets surrender. You stand on that bridge every time you imagine something new, every time you whisper, I am. But most people hesitate there. They stare at the other side of the bridge, where everything they want already exists, and they wonder if they'll ever make it across. You've been there. You've imagined a better version of yourself, but the old identity keeps pulling you back. It says, be realistic. It says, look at what's actually happening. It says, nothing's changed yet. And that voice sounds so convincing, doesn't it? Because it's not just a voice, it's a habit, a memory, an echo of the person you no longer are. Neville called this moment the death of the old man. He said, the old man must die before the new man is born. That doesn't mean you destroy yourself. It means you stop identifying with who you once believed you were. The one who doubted, the one who struggled, the one who waited for proof. You stop feeding that version of you with attention. You stop narrating its story. You let it dissolve. That's the crossing, not through effort, through surrender. When you stop fighting for your limitations, you free yourself to embody the infinite. Every assumption you persist in rewires identity. Every time you return to the feeling of already having, you cross a little further, and you'll notice something strange along the way. Life starts moving. People act differently. Opportunities appear. Paths shift, not because you forced it, but because the outer world can't resist your new inner command. You've changed frequency, and everything else must tune to you. Still, this crossing can feel lonely, because you're leaving behind the comfort of what was and stepping into the unknown of what's already done. But remember, your desire is the bridge itself. It's not a test. It's a signal from your higher self calling you home. So walk with quiet certainty. Walk as though you're already there. Because in truth you are. Neville said, the state you most frequently occupy becomes your dwelling place. That's the secret of identity. You can't visit a new reality for a few minutes a day and expect it to stay. You must live there, sleep there, think there, breathe there. That's what it means to live in the end. Not acting as if, but feeling from it. And when you do, you'll feel something shift deep inside. The old self stops arguing, the mind quiets, and all that's left is knowing that you are already what you once desired to be. This is the crossing, when faith stops being a concept and becomes identity. You don't have to see it to believe it. You believe it and then you see it, because consciousness doesn't follow evidence, it creates it, and once you cross this bridge, there's no going back. The old world loses its grip. The new world unfolds before you. Not someday, now. You've made the shift, you've crossed the bridge, you've begun to live from the end, and then life happens. Something unexpected breaks the silence. An old pattern returns, a bill arrives, a door closes, and suddenly the old world feels alive again, trying to pull you back. You wonder, did I lose it? Did I fall out of the state? Did I do something wrong? But no, you're not doing anything wrong. You're watching the last echoes of a dying identity fade away. Neville said, "The world is a mirror, perpetually reflecting what you are doing within yourself. When reality pushes back, it's not punishing you, it's purifying you. It's showing you what's still left to release. Because the moment you assume something new, the old assumption doesn't vanish quietly. It trembles, it shouts, it demands attention, and that's the trap. You think that reaction means failure, but it's actually proof of movement. The bridge is shifting. The scene is rearranging itself, and you're standing in the middle of a world that's breaking apart so a new one can emerge. Don't resist it. Don't panic. Observe. Breathe. Because the one who truly knows doesn't need evidence to trust. They rest in identity. When the outer world says, "Nothing has changed," the inner self smiles and whispers, "You'll catch up soon." That's power. That's mastery. Neville often reminded his students, persist in the assumption, even if the outer world denies it. For persistence will harden into fact. Persistence isn't repetition, it's loyalty. You're not repeating words to convince yourself. You're returning home to who you already are. You may feel frustration, you may feel fear. That's natural. It's the old self losing control. But remember this, nothing real can be lost. Only illusions fade. When something leaves your life during this phase, it's because it no longer matches your new vibration. It's clearing space for alignment. It hurts, because endings always do, but endings aren't punishment, they're reorganization. You are being restructured from the inside out. So when reality pushes back, don't fight it. Feel it. Let it pass through you. And when it's gone, you'll notice something. You feel lighter, clearer, calmer, because the new identity doesn't need validation. It doesn't chase, it doesn't prove. It simply is. This is the stage where the old world tests your patience. But patience isn't waiting, it's knowing. Knowing that what you've claimed within must externalize, because there is no other law. Neville said, "The world is yourself pushed out." So when the world pushes back, it's still you. You can meet it with anger, or you can meet it with love. And the way you respond will determine what echoes next. Respond as the new self. Respond as the one who already has. Respond as if this too were part of your fulfillment. Because it is. Every delay, every detour, every obstacle is your bridge in motion. And the moment you stop reacting to the old, you give full permission for the new to arrive. So breathe, smile, stay loyal to your unseen reality, because the world you see now is only catching up to the one you already live in within. And soon, they will become one. After the noise fades, there's silence. No more pushing, no more proving, just a quiet awareness, the kind that hums beneath every thought. That's where creation actually happens, not in the doing, but in the being. You start to notice something profound. The less you chase, the faster things come. The less you demand, the more life flows. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's alignment. Neville called this the Sabbath. He said, it's the state of rest, not physical rest, but spiritual certainty. When you've done the inner work and released the outer struggle, he wrote, "In the Sabbath, the man who knows no rest labors in vain." Meaning, once you've assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your only job is to rest in it, to trust it as done. That silence isn't passive, it's magnetic. It begins pulling every piece of reality into place without your interference. At first, the mind will rebel. It will whisper, "Do something. Check again. Make sure it's working." But creation doesn't need supervision. It needs surrender. The silence you feel is proof that you've stepped out of effort and into power. This is where imagination breathes on its own. You no longer force the image. You no longer repeat affirmations out of fear. You simply know. That knowing carries energy, a still, steady pulse that reshapes everything around you. People begin responding differently. The world feels softer. Even time seems to slow down. Because when you stop resisting, life stops rushing. In this silence, you discover a truth that changes everything. You were never trying to manifest anything. You were remembering what already existed. The noise of effort was only blocking the echo of your own creation. Now, in stillness, that echo becomes clear. You hear it in your intuition, in small synchronicities, in the effortless alignment of events. And you realize it was never about forcing the world to change. It was about seeing that the world is your change, mirrored back. The silence isn't the end of creation. It's the beginning of recognition. Neville said, "Be still and know that you are God," not as a command, as a reminder, because stillness isn't something you achieve, it's something you uncover. When you stop identifying with the noise of doubt, you return to the source that was never uncertain. In that silence, there's no asking, no waiting, no resistance, only awareness. And that awareness is creative power in its purest form. This is where everything turns. The world begins to rearrange itself quietly. Conversations shift. Emails appear, doors open, synchronicities multiply. But by now you don't even chase them, because you understand that these things are not the goal. They're the confirmation. The real reward is the stillness itself. Because once you find that silence, you stop needing proof. You stop fearing time. You stop searching for results. And in that moment of absolute rest, you realize you have become the cause. Creation flows through you without effort. And for the first time, you're not the seeker anymore. You're the source. There comes a moment when you realize you're no longer trying to believe. You simply do. You're not testing the law anymore. You are the law. This is the moment Neville called the realization of the promise. When you no longer separate yourself from the power that once amazed you. It happens quietly. You wake up one day and feel lighter, peaceful, certain. The thing you once chased feels ordinary now, not because it's lost its magic, but because it's become you. You start to notice how your life bends around your state of being, how people echo your inner language, how opportunities seem to arrive at the exact moment you stop needing them. You realize the world has always been listening, because it was always you. This is the point where manifestation becomes natural. No affirmations, no forcing, no control, just alignment. You think it, feel it, release it, and it happens. Because you've dissolved the gap between desire and possession. There's no longer a me and what I want, only I am. You've become the living proof of Neville's teaching that imagination and reality are not separate. They are the same field of consciousness, viewed from different angles. When you embody this, even your smallest thoughts gain gravity. Your assumptions shape conversations. Your moods sculpt circumstances. Not through effort, but through being. And here's the beauty. You don't even crave control anymore, because you've learned that what flows through you is wiser than anything you could plan. So you begin to move differently. You walk slower. You listen deeper. You trust sooner. You live as if the world is responding to your energy, and because it is. Neville once said, "Your every imaginal act persistently assumed is a fact in the unseen." Now you no longer question that. You see it unfold every day. The person you used to be, the one who doubted, waited, and hoped, feels distant now, like an old dream fading with the morning sun. You don't resent that version, you thank it, because without that longing, you would never have found this stillness. You look around your life and realize something breathtaking. Everything is a mirror, not just the good, but all of it. And you love it all, because you understand that even contrast is creative, even resistance is divine. That's when you stop manifesting from lack and begin expressing from fullness. Your desires are no longer escapes, they're expansions. You no longer create to fill a void, you create to celebrate your nature. You are the artist and the art, the dreamer and the dream, the observer and the observed. And that realization changes everything. Now, manifestation isn't a practice, it's your breathing, your speaking, your very existence. You've become what you once studied. The concept turned into consciousness, the words turned into life, and every person you meet, every scene you experience becomes a reflection of the truth. You are imagining it all, and it is good. That's when you no longer need proof, because you are the proof. You walk through life knowing that what you assume today will show itself tomorrow, not by chance, but by law, not by effort, but by identity. And this awareness becomes your peace, because once you've become the living proof, you realize there was never anything to manifest, only more of yourself to remember. When you finally understand that imagination is reality, something incredible happens. The chase ends, but creation doesn't, because every fulfilled desire births a new one. Not out of lack, but out of overflow. The universe doesn't expand through struggle, it expands through realization. Each time you remember your power, reality itself grows. Not somewhere out there, but right here, through you. That's the loop. Desire, assumption, fulfillment, silence, expansion. It never stops, it only deepens. You stop seeing desire as a sign of missing something. You start seeing it as a signal from your higher self saying, "There's more of me to explore." Every new longing is another doorway to consciousness discovering itself. Neville said, "You cannot desire what you do not already possess." Desire is remembrance. It's your future self calling you home. So when a new desire arises, you no longer panic. You smile, because you know the pattern. You've walked this bridge before. You've felt the tension of wanting. You've crossed the silence of surrender. You've watched the world rearrange itself. You know how it works. And that knowing gives you freedom. You stop needing proof for every prayer. You stop begging for signs. You simply recognize it's done. And because you've lived this truth enough times, you trust it instantly. That's when life becomes art. Not a battle, not a test, but a canvas for consciousness to play. Everything around you starts to feel symbolic. Every conversation carries a hidden message. Every coincidence feels divinely timed. You realize the universe isn't responding to you. It's expressing as you. And so you live lighter, you forgive faster, you release sooner, you bless everything because everything is yours. That's the infinite loop of creation. It's not a circle trapping you. It's a spiral lifting you higher each time you remember who you are. Every fulfilled desire expands your awareness. Every expansion brings new visions. Every vision becomes another act of creation. And it goes on endlessly, not because you're incomplete, but because you're infinite. The more you create, the more you know yourself. The more you know yourself, the more effortlessly you create. It's all the same movement, the same pulse that began before time began. Neville's words echo here stronger than ever. The end of longing is being. You no longer want for things, you become them. And in that becoming, you feel the divine rhythm of existence itself. There's nothing left to chase, nothing left to fix, only more to experience. Creation isn't something you do, it's something you are. And once you know that, you live in constant gratitude. Gratitude not as a practice, but as your natural state. Because everywhere you look, you see yourself, fulfilled, multiplied, reflected. That's the peace Neville pointed to. Not the end of creation, but the end of confusion. The moment you finally understand, it always was you, it always will be you, and it always works. If you ever forget, return to the silence, return to imagination, return to the simple truth. I am. That's the beginning and the end of every manifestation, every miracle, every life. And when you live from that truth, you don't have to prove it. You simply embody it because you, right now, are the living proof that it actually works.